ma'am, for your valuable insights. Now we shall start the panel discussion led by Dr. K. Anand Babu, Research Scientist, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Center of Excellence, and Ms. Adlan, a leader. May I request Ms. Adlan to take over the session. Over to you, Adlan.
Thank you, sir. So as we all know, we are gathered here for panel discussion. I don't want to take much of your time. So without further delay, let's get into the panel discussion. Before that, I would like to introduce our entrepreneurs to you. First, I would like to introduce Rajalaxmi ma'am, the Vice Principal of Faculty of Physiotherapy. She has been received an award for Best Researcher in IAP Conference Madurai and 2 more awards in Dr. MGR Educational Research and Institute for Research Attainment President's Award and Entrepreneur Award for paper presentation. Also, she has published nearly 40 papers in indexed journal and she had 15 years of full-time teaching and clinical experience. Next, I would like to introduce you Dinesh sir, who is an educational professional with experience in education administration and consulting coupled with a passion for stakeholder engagement, strategic planning for projects and engagement with government and customers. Also, he possesses good verbal written communication skills, having handled and addressed in specialized training to company professionals, faculty training teacher, teaching university students and delivering seminars and conferences across various countries around the world. Then I would like to introduce you Mr. Madheshwaran Lakshmipati sir, who is the co-founder and CEO of Finance Technical Solutions LLP, mainly focused on products named CRAP, which is clog removing autonomous robot and all-weather power generating panel. These 2 products all recognized nationally. He started his journey as an incubator in Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam with 2.5 lakhs of funding on 2017 to 18 and continuously with second round of funding with 10 lakh through Startup Nidhi. Also, he have recognized by NIC 2018 winner and received funding of 3 lakh. He started 500 startup to 5,000 startups around the country. Last but not the least, I would like to introduce Dr. Vijayanand, Faculty of Dentistry, IAC Coordinator of Dental College, 15 years of teaching experience. He has 4 patents published, out of which 3 has granted. He is one of the success stories of faculty entrepreneur in MGR. So without any further delay, let's start with panel discussion with Rajeshwari ma'am. So being a physiotherapist, which made you to become an entrepreneur, ma'am? I think you are muted.
So good afternoon, everybody present here. First, I would like to thank Principal Director, R&D Department, Rama Vaidyanathan Madam, for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this panel discussion. So I'm from physiotherapy background. Initially, I started my career being a clinician in the initial few days. And after that, I have joined in a college being an academician. So initially, it was 50% of the clinical oriented job where I treat the patients. And after that, I work as an academician where I teach the students. So this was my initial period. And after that, as years go through, it was like 75% of academic work and 25% of the clinical work. So 2 years back, when I just applied for funding from Newgen IEDC DST. So that time, that is the first point of time, I think I've got introduced to the words entrepreneur. See, opening a clinic and being a physiotherapist, that itself is an entrepreneur, I think so. But I have not opened my own clinic. I was working in Bangalore for some time, and here it's almost 10 years down the lane, I have started working in MGR. So, but I have not thought about working as an entrepreneur, all those things. But now what I feel is, am I audible to everybody?
Yep.
Yeah. Fine. So once I started applying for Newgen IEDC DST fund, I come to know about what is entrepreneur and what all the products which is being made, what is business, how to make a business model. So all these aspects I started learning from the AKC Center crew members only, from the crew members. So initially, I think being an entrepreneur is a long road of journey. A person who has a good imagination, person who observes constantly what is happening around him. Either it can be a professional life or it can be a personal life. A person who is, see, for example, I'm a physiotherapist. If I am from physiotherapy background, if I need not do business or be an entrepreneur only in the physiotherapy background, I can sell other products also. I can manufacture other products also. So that doesn't make any difference. So a person who constantly observes what is happening around him, both personally and professionally. So he will analyze the gap, what is required, what is the lag between them. Say, for example, you have a pot and they are selling the pot, and a person, one fine day, a person just fixes one tap in the pot and then he sells it. So a person who wants to fill the gap analysis, and a person who has a good imagination and a good dreamer with a good notion and good attitude can always become an entrepreneur. So initially it will be a risk period, I think, but later on people can, as Subhashri ma'am rightly said, they can achieve n number of things in their life. So yes, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. So next, I would like to ask Madheshwaran sir. Being a student, how do you manage your studies as well as your business? Does it affect your studies? Madheshwaran sir.
Hello, is it audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Hello?
Yeah, we
Yes,
are
now
able to-
audible. Yeah, okay. When it comes, I think I could go with the questions part. I hope so.
Oh, you don't get my question?
Yeah, I think you could ask questions.
You just, Adil, please repeat the question to him.
Yes, sir. Being a student, how do you manage your studies as well as your business? Does it affect your studies?
Okay, that's a quite interesting question. I could say yes, it's an interesting part when you travel as an entrepreneur when coming to a student. So when after coming to the MJ University and joining the BTech program, so after that only I got an idea, why can't we start a business? Targeting or starting a business is that much tough thing, or is it a really hard thing? Then I got to know and I got collaborated with AKC. Then it wasn't quite easy thing with ODs and other stuffs too. I don't think it would be affecting the studies and other curricular activities.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
So next, I would like to ask question to Dinesh sir. What inspired you to develop your ideas?
Yeah, thank you all for having me. I'm part of the MGR community as well. And I also run a slew of businesses, all in the education space. I run CBSE schools. I have a skilling company that kinds of takes the dropouts from the school and try to blend a career for them, and a couple of other things. So really what happens is, what inspires me to do is, I tend to look at problems that I see in the reality in the world out there, and see how is it that I could address those problems. Most of the inspirations, most of my muses are from the real world. As I sit, like I said, I have a liking for strategic planning as part of what I do at MGR, and also as part of what I do for my other businesses. So I look at the forest, I don't look at the trees, I look at the bigger picture. And as you look at the bigger picture, then trends emerge, bigger problems are known to you, and as you see the bigger problems, it gives you inspiration to see whether you can really do something to kind of change the livelihoods of people around your ecosystem. So I guess my ideas stem from there. And whether I really pursue it or not is a function of whether I have the team to do it, whether I have a viable business model to do it, who's going to fund me for it, is it the right time, and is it my personality to take on that business or not. So it's a combination of a lot of factors that really go into it.
Thank you, sir. It was a really nice answer. I'll come back to you again. So next, I would go to Vidyananda, sir. What criteria are required to patent a product?
Yes, good afternoon. So I thank the management for giving me to share my views. So what is a novelty is required. Patent you want to do, a novelty is required. That a good idea you need. It is just in entrepreneurship. I feel everything is like a life of. It is how you left with the boat, and here you are left with an idea and negative people. So everyone would say, yeah, yes, this might be wrong. Already I have seen this idea somewhere, but everything you come out from the sea is what you get that patent, and that's how I got my first. So it is like you can come out of few addicts, like whatever bad addicts also you have, like innovation and following entrepreneurship out of all those things, and this innovation and invention is what I felt and I'm experiencing in my life. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I would like to ask Rajalaxmi ma'am, how do you got an idea to design food dynamometer?
Yes, ma'am. As I've already told you, I'm working in this field for 15 years. So when I used to teach the students or when I'm treating the patients, we have an equipment called the hand dynamometer, which measures the strength of the hand. And we have another thing called push-pull dynamometer, wherein you can measure the strength of the muscles of the trunk, your flexors and your extensors. So one fine day, I thought you don't have any equipment or any quantitative device which will measure the strength of the foot. So foot is also there in the human body, which is neglected, I felt. So I thought of designing an equipment which can measure the strength of the foot and which can even rehabilitate it, used for the rehabilitation, that is strengthening. My device, what I have designed, I can measure the strength of the foot and I also can treat the patient, strengthen the muscles of the foot using the same device. So that's how I got an idea.
That's really great, ma'am. So next, I would like to ask Dinesh, sir, how have your priorities changed from when you started at first to now?
Yeah, so initially, I think there was a lot more emphasis on the idea creation, and I thought probably the ideas is what we have to lay my most focus on. And I think right now I've come to a point where I believe there are about give or take six different facets of being an entrepreneur that you have to address to make it a successful one. One of which is just the idea. So you have to make sure you have a viable idea it's going to sell in the market. But I think instead of 100% of my focus being there, I've kind of moved on to saying, all right, so now that I have the idea under the belt, where else do my priorities lie? And I think the second one I would say is having a great team to execute. So much so, I would say that my priorities have moved to being a better execution person than having a greater idea. Oftentimes, more than ideas, it's the execution that matters. And I believe that execution is key, especially depending on what kind of a business you're doing and where your challenge lies. You have to have a viable business model also. I think that's the third requirement. You need to know where you're going to sell. You need to know how much margin you're going to make. You need to understand so many other aspects of being an entrepreneur. Marketing is a key. Staffing is a key. So I think having a viable business model is, I think, another great level of priority that I would lay emphasis on. Funding, of course. I mean, if you run into money problems, you're not having too much money. If you're every day you're firefighting, trying to get your next 10,000 rupees, 20,000 rupees, 50,000 rupees, then it's going to go nowhere. So normally I would like to make sure the funding is under my belt. My first venture that I did for about 1.5 crores, but we didn't start until we got that under our belt. The second venture that I did, we took in about 3.55 crores of it, but we make sure that we have the funding before we get on to anything that is that we are pursuing. And I would say there is an element of luck for every business that you do. There are various ways to describe it. I think one of which I would like to say it's more than luck. I would say it's the timing. Unfortunately, it is not in your control, but sometimes if you can get the timing right, you don't have many of what I said before, you could still make it big. But if you're lucky and you have the timing right, and like I said, even if you don't have it, you can make it big. If not, you really want to hope that you have the right timing with you. It's evident these days that you can see if we are all in the education space, so we know if you had to open an engineering college, you should have opened it in the 1980s. If you're trying today to open an engineering college, it's a very, very bad idea. And that's because your timing is completely off. And the final thing I think is each one's personality. You got to understand, like I said, what the challenge is. If it's a technical challenge, you've got to have the technical capabilities. If it's a staffing challenge, you've got to have staffing capabilities. If it's a funding challenge, you've got to have funding capabilities. You're going to get beaten and bruised a lot of times. And do you have the capacity in you to get hit left, right, and center and still wake up the next day and talk? You have to be very, very sure about it. You have to have a passion for it. If you don't have a passion, you shouldn't do it. But then you also have to set right your personality. And so these things are priorities, and depending upon what your idea is, one may be slightly more important than the other.
Thank you, sir. So next to Madheshwaran, sir. How do you raise funding?
Okay. Before getting to this point, I could mention few points that what would be need for raising the fundings. First thing is a good problem statement. Then for solving that problem statement, we could give an excellent idea which should be suitable for the customer with this customer satisfaction. With these two things is enough, more than enough to raise the fund. And there are a number of ways to raise funds, like angel investors on the prayer manner, and we have so much of grants in government. What we did was, as a first round of funding and second round of funding, we go on with government organizations and few other stuff for till third round of funding, and still it's going on. What I could suggest is more than looking upon the funding is the infrastructure and other support. As Mr. Dinesh Kumar said that the problem statement and the idea is really important. The funding also is definitely important, but I could mention the idea and your customer satisfaction, how much you are satisfying the customer, because knowing a customer is an important deal that would bring the money to you automatically. However,
Thank you, sir. So Rajalaxmi ma'am, can you please share your experience of your entrepreneurial journey in the New Gen IEDC project? You're muted, ma'am.
I think it was a very good journey, and I have learned a lot. Even though I had these many years of experience, that I can tell you that I have learned a lot. How to say, for example, I'm from healthcare background and full-time teacher. I can tell, rather than a professor or vice principal, I can tell I'm a teacher and then I'm an administrator. So designing a product is not my full-time job. So firstly, I thought managing the time was my biggest challenge, or that was difficult. But what had brought me till this point is my aspiration or my passion towards what I'm doing, or my passion towards the product, I think. So whatever you do, you have to have an interest towards whatever we are developing. So that definitely will bring success, even though if you're going to come across many hardships. See, so time, I think, and then technical expertise, because I know what the food dynamometer has to measure, but I never know what the food, how the food dynamometer should be manufactured, or what should be inside, and what are the materials should be there, what should be the strength of the spring, all those aspects, and knowledge of the materials, specification of the materials used. So all these things I have learned. Slowly, I started Googling and I started asking advices from experts. So many biotechnology experts, biomedical engineering experts, and Rama ma'am and team, Rizwan sir, Arun sir, everybody had helped in their own way of solving all the issues, I think. And finally, the manpower, wherein it,
Thank you, ma'am. So Dinesh sir, what are your success habits?
I think what works best in terms of trying to make sure that your products and your services succeed is is one is priority to try to understand what it means to be able to develop and internationally or nationally, depending on what you're doing, successful product or service. And time management is definitely becomes very, very critical, because most of us are doing multiple jobs, especially the group that I'm addressing today. We might be part of an institution. We also do certain other things. One thing is time management. The second most critical component is always, like I say, if you're looking at a business, you should have the vision to look at the what I call looking at the forest rather than the trees. You got to know where to go and put your flag post. You got to know in which direction to go towards it, and then you hope and pray, and your team will walk towards that particular flag post. Because until and unless you know the way you're heading, until and unless you define where you want to go, you will never know. You could just go astray. So oftentimes, I believe the clarity has to be there in terms of where you want to march. The clarity has to be how do you manage your time, and then the clarity has to be to prioritize things. And when I say prioritize things, you should not be on a firefighting mode. It should not be, oh my God, where am I going to get the next guy to do this job that is needed today? You have to have, you should have a clear mind. You should be able to forget your today's problem and think about a problem that will come 6 months from today, and so plan it between now and the next 6 months. And so if you have all these three things, you're having a much better chance of succeeding than anything else. And just as I saw this passion with Rajalaxmi madam, I think you should only do what you're passionate about. You do anything that you're not passionate about. If you do something because there is money in it, but you're not really like it, you're not going to make it. Because it's so very hard for people to be believing in what you're doing, that until and unless you have the passion, until and unless you have it in you to say, okay, come what may, I want to succeed, it won't work. So you got to have that passion, and you got to have the personality to take a hit and still wake up the next day and be able to do it.
Thank you, sir. That was really great. So Vidyananda sir, whether the new processes or methodology can be patentable? Vidyananda sir.
He is Dr. Vijayanand. So Vijayanand sir, are you there, sir?
I think he's not here right now. Can we just move on to the next speaker?
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So Madheshwaran sir, how do you define success being an entrepreneur?
I could tell you is success is not just an particular point that we are going to reach this one. So we could be always changing our task and everything to a next updation point of view. So it will be in entrepreneurial scenarios, we could say it's just in pathway. How much consistently you're working on a particular task or a particular scenario. The consistency shows your passion, how much you're dedicating on that. So I could tell us the success is how much passionate about the work what we are doing. That's what I could tell you. That's it.
Thank you, sir. So Dinesh sir, what is the best advice you can give for the upcoming young entrepreneurs?
Well, I think most of the people, I think, in roundabouts have talked about exactly what it is. For example, somebody talked about, generally ideas being good. People were talking about being passionate. I think we heard the speaker just before me talk about trying to make sure that you have a mission. You decide what the mission is, and as long as you're progressing on the mission, it is good. Vision is where you want to get to, and mission is what you want to work. So I think all in all, when you think about a business, first decide whether you're passionate, then decide whether you have it in you to take an entrepreneurial journey. An entrepreneurial journey by no stretch of imagination is easy. And if you think that you have a great idea, you have a great team, and you want to be an entrepreneur, and if you're ready to work for it, then I think that will be a good starting point. And then you figure out as you go, things. And the first business is always never successful, because I think failure is the biggest trainer for you. So I think failure is a good stepping stone to success. So you fail once, you fail twice, you fail third time, doesn't matter. If you can do it a fourth, fifth, and the sixth time, and all young entrepreneurs, I think, don't get dismayed that you fail. If you have it in you to get up the next day morning and still redo either on the same job or something else differently, then I think you have it in you to become a successful entrepreneur one day or the other.
Thank you, sir. So Madheshwaran sir, what strategies did you use first to market your business?
For marketing a business, like when we started upon the venture startup, what we did was we were targeting on the product businesses what we are working on sanitization technology and renewable energy, and also for revenue generation we were targeting on education sector also. So more than what I did was targeting upon government organization grants where I could get so because I am a student, it's a major plus point I could tell you is, because when going with a student and as an entrepreneurship journey, it's a major plus point. We can go for so much of available grants or available investment wherever it can be. So with the help of the university also, it's a great support, because having an university with you, they are becoming a backbone for you when for our gaining money for that other stuff too. So when marketing comes along, I could tell us I had a few collaborations with the government. It's a big task when it comes to B2G for implementation of my product. And as well as I also gone for many conferences. So networking would be a great important, because whenever we are talking to a person, we doesn't know what happens and what it's a important thing. When we are meeting a new person, definitely we can't judge the people what he or she is capable of. So that would really help in marketing the business. That's it.
Thank you, sir. So finally, we came to the end of the session. Oral, thank you. And this session was very interesting and more informative. So thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.